Hey everyone, Dangerous Freedom here with my brother Roger, Detroit prepping.
Hello, everyone.
Uh, so anyways, you've been seeing some of the madness yourself over there, huh?
It's been a sight to see. I think we've got 24, 25 cases in Michigan now. Some of those cases are miles away from where I live. Uh, but I would say starting on the 6th, when I made my first normal monthly trip to Sam's Club Costco, I started to see the toilet paper. I think we talked about this last time we
Yeah,
were on here. The toilet paper, the rice, the flour, and the
yeah,
water were
yeah.
gone.
No.
My most recent trip was yesterday, and I heard some pretty
I'm,
shocking statements from the people that were there with me. Um, I, I heard from a woman, maybe 40 years of age or so, on the phone, literally in tears, that they didn't have any food at home and there was no food left in the store. Uh, when I say the shelf was empty, I mean, uh, when we got there, there were maybe, and you have to imagine this aisle, which is probably 100 foot long normally,
hmm
full from the floor to the 6 foot, with spaghetti sauces and Alfredo sauces and every other kind of pasta sauce you could want, being to the point where there were only two or three jars, and the actual person that was coming the opposite way down the aisle didn't even look at what the jar said, just reached and grabbed for the jar and put it in their cart and kept going, as if being pre-programmed to
Um,
accept what was there, not take all of it. Because I mean, there were two or three jars there and they only grabbed one, but well, I mean, what sense does that make, even to get to that point and then to buy something you don't even know what you're buying? You didn't even, I guess, if you're starving, you don't need to, but how can you be starving? And what are we talking? 5 days, for 3 or 4 days now, since they've been kind of saying, hey, you better get out there and stock up. You better get out there and get what you're going to get. Um, when I had talked to you on the 6th, the one thing that was absent in everyone's cart at that time was just general food items. And
uh,
uh, I guess they figured that out, and we're sitting pretty much at, and I mean, I'm just guessing here, 5 to 10% inventory in the stores. I mean, if you hope to go buy a canned good, that's impossible at this point. If you hope to go in there and buy a box of pasta or a bag of noodles, that's an impossible thing to do right now.
that's
I didn't
crazy.
go today, but I do plan to go back out tomorrow. I've kind of
Yeah,
just been trying to keep a gauge on how it's going right now, and
exactly.
the
Yeah, and
one,
that's about where I am. Because my buddy Mayhem, tactical technician, had challenged me to that Walmart challenge. What do? You got a 10-minute warning before the president declares a national emergency, and then before I could even do the challenge, guess what? He declares a national emergency,
yeah.
and everything just went to hell, man. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna have to postpone this. I'm not saying I won't do it. I considered doing it inside of the actual shithole or madness, but I was like, you know what? I just don't want to be around that. I'll give it a week. I'll let it die down for a week, and then maybe I'll try it. But
Well, I definitely was not pulling out my phone to take video or anything like that. I could definitely tell that there was a certain amount of tension in the air, and what it would take to find myself in an unfortunate situation, being singled out by, you know, a customer that's upset that I was videotaping, or a management of the store being upset. It just, to me, it felt like it wasn't worth me trying to take video of this. I've seen enough video,
Yeah,
and I will testify that the video I've seen, most of the videos I've seen, are absolutely the case in Detroit, the case in Oakland County, the case in Wayne County, around, around my 10 miles. And people are scared, but wiping out the grocery store is not gonna help them in any way at this point. If they're in the store hoping to get a grocery cart's worth of food because they have nothing at home,
yeah.
that cart's not gonna last long.
That's poor planning. That is very poor planning. Hey, before we go too much further, I'd like to say hello to some of the people in the chat here. We got our buddy Pro Carry Trucker. We've got one Dirty Rotten Imbecile. We got our good friend Margot, Deidre, Grateful Grandma Patty. I've seen her around some of our chats lately. It's nice to see you, hon. DM to Mod, Donna. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Ooh Man, one of our longtime friends, and real world prepper. That's a mouthful. Good to see you, brother. Been following you for a long time too. We got gun loving grandpa. Amen to that. Rick Hunter, glad you're here. And let's see here. Jericho Fox, another prepper patriot. So glad you're all here, and I hope we don't bore you. If you got any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll answer them as they come up. And Tactical Technician is somewhere around. He's got the link. He'll be in here when he gets a minute. He's been at a wedding today, so yeah.
Well, I can tell you this, from what I've been seeing.
All right, cool. Can't wait to see that.
We've got some issues around here that are far bigger than the
RWP.
virus. Just, I've watched videos and I've heard people say, "Oh, people are waking up now. People are gonna.
Yeah.
This is the one that's gonna wake up a lot of people." And I often have to think back to all the other things that were supposed to awaken people. And I think, if this situation with the lack of supplies, lack of food, lack of toiletries, does not get any better than it does, or than it is today. Yes, maybe a lot of people will, but if this all blows over and in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, the stores are back to normal.
Yeah, it will. And
I think, 90% of the people that have woken up,
we're gonna go right back to sleep.
Right now will be lulled right back into sleep.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I have to agree with you. I don't know if it'll be 90%, but I would bet 70 to 80% easily. They're just wow. It'd be like I guess when the SARS or even the Ebola scare happened. People were like, oh wow, crap, maybe we should prepare a little bit. But it's been so many years, and they just it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened in the last 6 months, so why bother? You think Uman Oliver thinks it'll be about 99%, and you might be right, Uman. I hope to God we're not, but it leaves more press for us, right? Jericho. Just quit buying all the ammo, damn it. We all need ammo.
Yeah. I think, if it goes beyond the 30 days, I think we'll be in a situation where what we've lost will be hard fought to be regained. I don't think after, it progresses for a month or two and it becomes kind of a standard way that we have to live in, that we'll be able to just, switch right back to all the stores, everything's fine, don't worry. Um, and I mean, just how much worse is it going to get if they do start doing stuff like quarantine cities, locking down cities?
Oh
Uh,
man.
I, I'm sure everybody in this chat realizes that 98% of the people in any city, big, small, little, are not ready. And the panic of hearing that announcement or statement be made is going to be enough to push, 5% of the people right over the edge into doing things that normally they probably wouldn't have done or thought they needed to do.
Yeah, like people getting into fights over a loaf of bread type thing. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. I'll give you that. I was thinking that going on to the amount of people, that there. I mean, I see plenty just in my chat. Like, hey, I'm a new prepper, and so it goes to show that at least that 1% has finally decided, I don't want to be the guy that is going into the store when it's a madhouse trying to get, few cans for my family to eat. And so some people are waking up, and I think they'll stay awake. But like we've been saying, a majority of them will just go right back to sleep.
Unfortunately, that's what I've seen. That's how I've noticed it happen. I think the what was it, the December 21st, 2012, or the Mayan end of all days, long count calendar, whatever it was. I mean, I see more people getting ready for something that was an imaginary math calculation that somebody made than I've seen people get ready when they hear the news come on and they say, hey, there's a hurricane one day off the coast. Get the hell out of there. Move inland. Batten down the hatches and have your. I mean, those people hear those news reports and laugh, but yet they hear the Mayans long count calendar ends on, and they're, stocked up and they have all this potable water and bug out locations and all this other stuff. It just, I don't know. Most times seems comical to me when I watch how some people prepare.
Yeah, I know, right? You're doing it kind of backwards there, buddy. I mean, water is important. You got to have water or cerveza. Cheers, anybody that's drinking.
This has to be at least 80% water in here.
And it's probably distilled. Well, we know it's distilled, so all the bugs are already cooked out of it. Y2K. Oh, who was it? Pro Warsaw Patriot. Well, he's more concerned about if martial law happens and riots and raids start happening in big cities and other areas.
Well, I mean, it's definitely something to be worried about. It happens when their favorite sports team wins. They burn the city down.
I know,
So
especially
imagine
LA.
if, the grocery store shelves don't get refilled and the water doesn't come out of the faucet
I,
anymore, or, name your dilemma. Uh, that's
yeah,
that's what large groups of people are going to do. They're going to gather to blame somebody besides themselves. Nobody
yeah.
wants to be the reason they're in the situation they're in. It's much
We got
easier when it's somebody else's fault.
we got Aircraft Sparky in the chat. What's up, Sparky? Good to see you. And we got our buddy Lone Star Preps, all the way from the Lone Star State. How's everything going, friends? What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something. Every time I just keep losing my train of thought here. We were talking about panic. Shoot, it'll come back to me.
Well, I definitely have an observation I've made that I don't really know what to think about. So, on one hand, I believe it was the Ohio governor or public health administrator, come out and talk about how if you don't have symptoms, there's no reason to get a test. And in order to determine whether your symptoms are the symptoms they're looking for, they need to interview you. And oh, by the way, if you want to get tested for it, we have tents out in the parking lot of the hospital for you to drive through and get a test. I mean, doesn't seem to make much sense to me that
drive
you
through
give this
testing.
whole big speech about when to get tested, but now we're just going to have open testing for anybody that wants to drive through. I mean, is it another situation where they're playing on people's fears and they're taking something from you when you go give them your DNA sample or your cheek swab or whatever they decide to take from you and attach to your social security number, driver's license number, or however they have to mark and monitor that? It's it's a strange thing to me to see that and understand why that's even a good idea to have.
Pro carry trucker, you have a good dinner, and we'll see you around, bro. Miss Mary, hello. Terry Christ, Jeff B, good to see you. And that is weird. Drive through testing. That
Drive-through
is
testing available.
wow. How
Free of
convenient.
charge. I mean, when they start giving you stuff for free, there's got to be some kind of catch to it.
Oh well, yeah, nothing is free. We figured that out a long time ago.
I mean, we've gone from we don't have enough tests to the tests don't work to we have 5 million tests to you don't need a test unless you're showing symptoms to okay, you want a test, just come get a test. We'll just
Yeah,
give you a test. It's not making much sense in this short amount of time for them to be changing this policy so rapidly back and forth and double
wow.
talk or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, Lone Star Preps man brings up a good point. Are they gonna start doing them like a DWI or DUI checkpoint?
I
I
don't see why they don't have the capability of doing that.
No, I don't see that either. What's up, 12B? Good to see you, brother.
It's strange days ahead, bud. That's for sure.
Yeah, and how long? That's something we were talking about earlier. How long do we think this is going to last? Is it going to burn out in 2 or 3 weeks? I mean, from what we've seen in China, I don't think 2 or 3 weeks is going to be enough. I think this thing is going to continue to climb for at least probably the next month, maybe 2 months, and then we'll start to see it drop back down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything more than a guess. I don't have any kind of knowledge that would allow me to formulate a idea of how long I think it would last. But as far as a guess, I mean, I think it's going to last as long as the American spirit lasts. As long as they have bars open, as long as they have restaurants open, as long as they, have public transportation running, it's going to be spread. That's the same as the flu, the same as the common cold, the same as you name it, pink eye,
Yeah.
ringworm,
Yeah.
toe jam, whatever there is that we can spread amongst each other. We'll find a way to do it. Uh, I don't see a quarantine being a very effective tool.
No, and that brings me back to that thought that I was thinking about. They were talking about quarantines here. I mean, we're already seeing that they're shutting down large gatherings. Now, I can understand if the organizer decides, hey, this is a bad idea, let's just not do it. But if the government starts stepping in and telling these people, hey, you can't have this gathering, they're basically stripping our First Amendment right, peacefully assembling. And I know there's a lot of people that are going to be very upset with that. And like most of us, it's like, well, they're already stripping our First Amendment. They've been working on our Second Amendment when, you know, it's just another way for them to remove our rights from us. And they did it with 9/11. They stripped how many of our rights in that one incident? So a lot of people are looking at it like that. It's like it's just another way for them to strip our rights. And hold on, I got company. Roger, you're gonna have to carry it for just a minute.
All right, I'll do my best. I guess just to touch on what Dangerous Freedom was saying, once those rights are stripped from us, believe me, we will not be receiving those rights back after the emergency passes. There's a long history of rights being stripped for the sake of national security, whatever else they decide to attach to it, terror threats, this, that. And there's no way to ever stop the threat, and you'll surely never receive back the rights they stripped from you. That's the unfortunate truth about any legislation that is passed for whatever reason.
Yeah, well, what do they say? Every law that they pass is another freedom stripped from the people, and that's how it goes. I mean, honestly, you know, when I hear about a government shutdown, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. You know, shut it down, keep it down. I mean, honestly, they're not doing their damn jobs anyways. They got one job, and that's to protect the United States citizens, and they can't even do that successfully.
No, I mean, it's one of those situations. I don't even understand why we find ourselves in these situations every other time. Why we always reach out for somebody else to help us. I mean, that's just that's such a I don't even know the word to use for it. Anytime you beg someone else to protect you, save you, help you, cuddle you, whatever you're screaming out for help for, and it's gonna cost your rights. I mean, it's probably not worth the little bit of convenience you think you're gonna get from it.
Yeah.
There's no way to convince me that more government intervention is the answer.
Oh God, no. We've seen that they fail. They're known to fail. They become their own institution, and they forget that they work for us. You know, they're our servants, not the other way around. But they just don't seem to get that.
They don't work for us at this point. They don't serve our interests. They serve the interests of the people that funded their campaigns to be elected. That's who they serve. I mean, when you show up to work in the morning, you don't go there to help out the lady down the street pay her bills. You show up there to help the owner of the company make some money so that
he can pay you,
split it with you, and help you pay your bills.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know, a government shutdown. How do you shut down something that is being paid in imaginary money? I mean, they're being paid in our debt.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a room of gold somewhere and once a month everybody in the Senate lines up and gets 3 bits of gold, and everybody in Congress lines up and gets 2 bits of gold. That's not, they're a bunch of digital numbers somebody entered into an account, and
it comes out of the working man's pocket.
Yeah, I mean, it comes out of thin air, and then we're on the hook to repay the debt. So,
And that's just it. Me myself, I don't have any real debt. I don't have any credit card debt. To be honest, I don't owe anybody anything except my mom. I owe my mom a little bit of money, but other than that, I'm paid up with everybody.
well, I mean, no matter what, you continue to owe. I mean, you owe property taxes, you owe registration for your vehicle, you owe, you know,
Yeah,
add it to the list. We never are out
we're
of debt.
taxed.
We never
We're taxed
have
to death.
anything in this world. Everything we have, we are renting basically.
Yeah,
And sometimes we're only renting the right to
yeah,
use something.
yeah.
It's it's a long ways from any of us not being in debt to anyone.
Yeah, but it's just like you say. I know Iron Crane. That's where I'm basically at too. But the only problem is, like Detroit Prepping was just saying, okay, you got 5 acres of land. Well, if you don't pay your taxes on that land every year, what's going to happen? Somebody with a gun is going to come to your door and take your shit.
Absolutely. It's one of those things. I mean, you're stuck working till the day you die.
Pretty much.
And then on that day when you die, you still don't own any of the stuff you paid for.
Yeah.
No one in your family has the right to any of that stuff you paid for. Some
Yeah.
guy 2,000 miles away sitting in an office in Washington declares he has the right to 40% of it, and then some other guy 150 miles from you in the state capital declares he gets another 40% of it, and lo and behold, the lawyer's percentage is 18, and you get to walk away with 2% of what's left.
Didn't we fight a war over this before?
We fought a lot of wars in our time.
Yeah, but I'm talking
Most
about the
people
big
will
one
tend to
where people
forget.
where the people stood up and they were tired of the taxation and non-representation. And then when they finally decide, oh, you guys don't need guns, we're going to take those from you pesky citizens. And the pesky citizens stood up and said, try it. And it was a long fought battle, but man, we won our freedom. We won our liberty out of it. So, and here we are, barely 250 years later in the same fucking fight.
I think we might be a little deeper into a more gigantic fight than we were back then.
Yeah, the only thing though, like the military. Okay, so you got the military, but a lot of those people are sworn oath keepers. When they took that oath, even though they're retired, doesn't matter. That oath is still just as valid as the day they took it, and they will fight for our Constitution and our rights. And then you got the other half that are like, well, I need a paycheck, and that's where the rubber is going to meet the road. Is how many are going to be in there just to get a paycheck. But if people just quit paying taxes, if people quit working, and government quits getting all this tax money, they don't have funding.
Trust me, Ron, the government doesn't get nearly the amount of tax money it takes to support this country. The money they have is simply printed on a machine, is simply added to a zeros and one spreadsheet. This money that how could we be 21 something trillion dollars in debt if there's actually money coming in for all these programs they're spending on? I mean, they're printing money and
Yeah,
saying that's how they paid for it. It's an impossible scheme, and if me or you ever tried to do it, we'd be in federal jail.
oh yeah, absolutely. But if we stood up as a whole, like take the gun rally at Virginia for an example. When they were trying to pass those draconian laws, and you saw tens of thousands of people show up out there, and supporting the Virginians and their right to keep and bear arms, and that was just for the Second Amendment. You know,
Well,
um,
I mean, that being all true, they still passed every piece of legislation except one.
yeah, they
I
passed
mean,
it, but
that's
who's
that's an
enforcing it?
awful, immense effort to have 91% of the bills passed, and the one bill that wasn't passed, everybody says, well, that's what we went there for. I mean,
But
that's
yeah, but
a hard pill for me to swallow.
what I'm curious about is they passed all these laws, but as far as enforcing them, that's where I'm really curious. It's like because there are so many of these sheriffs out there that are saying, "Hey, we're not going to enforce that," and they're threatening them, saying, "Well, then you could retire or resign or not get paid or take a pay cut or whatever their vices are to try and push these lawmen to go out and enforce these unconstitutional laws." It makes how many are going to actually do it? I mean,
I think
maybe a
there's going to be
few.
a tremendous amount of people that will do that job, regardless of whether they're law enforcement now or not. But the threat of your child starving, the reward of money and food and fresh, clean water or medical services are going to sway untold numbers of people to do what they know is morally wrong. And it's just a simple fact of the matter. It's human nature that some of us are the sheep, some of us are the shepherds, and some of us are the wolf. And it's
Yeah,
just a matter of finding enough of those people. And I don't think they'll have much problem finding enough men to attempt to enforce these draconian laws.
yeah.
So that's my take on it. Finding people to come steal your shit is going to be probably one of the easiest tasks government have.
Until they start getting shot.
Well, I mean,
I mean, usually if you're out there doing something that you shouldn't be doing, and a couple of your friends die, you really start contemplating with God, maybe I'm making a mistake here.
I mean, some people have that attitude. Some people will need
some
to be
people,
placed in a body bag before that makes sense to them.
some
So,
people have no soul. They have no conscience. And yeah, it's sad to say, but unfortunately, there are plenty of people out there like that just don't have a conscience. And like if I was ever in a conflict like that where I had to take somebody's life to protect my own or my family's or anybody's, I would still feel bad about having to take that life. But then in reflection, I know in the long run, I would be thankful that I was able to save lives in that instance. You know what I mean? Like the one guy in the Texas church, he watched two of his good friends die right in front of him, and that third shot took out the gunman. And it's just sometimes, and that's the important thing. That first shot is the most important shot. A lot of people don't probably keep that in mind. Oh, nah, Nida, oh man, I'm gonna mess up your name. Nida Vellier, Forge and Woodcraft. Hello. I've seen you in some of my chats lately, so good to see you. I picked up a couple thousand rounds of 7.62 and 223 today. Ammo is going quick. That it is, my friend. That it is. They're having a run on the food. Well, not so much the food, the toilet paper. Having a run on toilet paper and bottled water, and ammo.
I'll tell you what, there's definitely a run on food, toilet paper, every type of pasta, spaghetti, rice, beans. I mean, I don't know how many people in the chat have watched any of the apocalypse movies where they walk into the store and everybody's going freaking crazy with the shopping cart full to the top with everything in the store. But
You see it every Black Friday.
that's what I saw yesterday. And like I said, the fear and panic I heard in people's voices and their conversations, phone calls they were making to other people, it made me realize the greatest danger we're facing right now is not any type of virus.
Just the
It's
panic.
civil unpreparedness, if that's even such a word.
No, well, yeah, it's panic. Basically, these people know they're not prepared enough, and they're trying to get prepared enough in the last 5 minutes, and everybody's trying to do it at the same time. And it was just like when I was in the store. Every time I go to the store, I go in for a few. Like I usually buy a case of beer. I'll go in there every couple of days, buy a case of beer, and that's about my extent. Once in a while, I'll go in and I'll, like on a Saturday morning, and I'll buy cans of chicken or whatever, beef stew, whatnot. Usually pick up a couple of nice beef roasts, that kind of thing. Hey, Pete. Um, yeah, so it's like it was surreal for me to just be in that situation where all these people, like, not kidding you, I'm looking at a shelf that's almost completely wiped out. There's like 3 cans of Lysol left, and I'm looking at it, and this guy comes in, grabs 2 of the cans, looks at me, and says, "Get well, the getting's good." And I was like, "Yep, good luck, buddy." And another friend of mine came up, a coworker of mine, said that he was in the store, same situation. There was 3 cans left on the top shelf. The guy picked up one, put it in his cart, walked about 3 steps, and then stopped, came back, grabbed the other 2, put them in his cart, and took off. And that brings me to another story. A friend of mine's like, if you see something on the shelf, just grab it and put it in your cart and contemplate on it then. Once it's in your cart, it's in your cart. And if anybody tries to take it out of your cart, then you have a right to be like, oh, you want to go?
Yeah, that's probably one of the worst situations you could find
Okay,
yourself
Warsaw,
in
go
at
ahead.
this point
Finish
today
that.
is arguing and fighting over a can of Lysol or a loaf of bread or whatever it is, and then finding yourself locked up waiting to find out what's going to happen. So though I have been going to the grocery store every other day, it's been more so to observe, more so to try to get a feeling of what everybody's
Right.
thinking, what everybody's desperation is at this point. And I got to tell you, my trip yesterday
Was eye
really
opening.
was unsettling. I mean, it wasn't one person I heard proclaiming how they have nothing in the house to eat and there's nothing in the store to buy. Um, it was a it was a pretty common statement made by a half a dozen people that I heard personally, and just the despair on the 50 people that were there walking around with empty carts looking for anything they could to put in that cart. I mean, there was no bread, there was no canned peaches, there was no soup, there was no lentils, there was no green beans, there was nothing there to purchase, no matter how much money you had.
Um, yeah, our buddy Warsaw Patriot said that there was an incident in where was that? Was that New York, Warsaw? Um, Another red flag law was used, and a 20-year-old kid was shot and killed by police while he was unarmed. I don't know anything about that. I haven't read that story or heard that one yet, but I'll look into it. Um, but thanks for bringing that up. You dropped a link in the chat if anybody wants to go check that out. Um, but no, that was weird because like my son and I went to the store this morning, and it wasn't near as bad as it was yesterday. It's like yesterday, like somebody came out and said, the first bomb was just dropped in California, and they just rushed in there. And today it was just so, but still tons of food on the shelf. Water, they still have water available. I mean, all the cheap stuff was sold out, but the Dasani, the expensive water, they still have that. Um, they had cat and dog food, which was that's what I was there for. Um, Cleaning supplies was gone. That part was wiped out, but they still had bar soap. There's still soap. There's still medicine. Plenty of things that people would need to survive a situation like this. Toilet paper isn't going to save anybody, and I know you and I get this, and most of the people in our chat understand. Toilet paper, it's a nicety. It's not going to save you. I mean, you can use a dirty sock or a rag.
Well, I mean, you can also use a clean sock. It doesn't have to be dirty.
I prefer to use a dirty one, but got to keep them socks clean, man. It's old military standard, dude. Got to have clean socks, clean, dry socks.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody doesn't own a face cloth, and I'd be shocked. I think it's just a perfect example of what I heard on the news. Oh, you didn't hear on the news? We have to go buy toilet paper.
I know, right?
Everybody's
war on toilet paper.
Yeah, and everybody jumps in their Kias and runs to the store and buys, 6 packs of toilet paper and not a can of anything to go with that, not a bag of anything to go with that. I mean, granted, now I've noticed the stores are emptying, but
in a week
6 days ago, 8 days ago, when this started being this news story, people were literally running to Sam's Club, getting a giant cart and placing 6 cases of water and 6 cases of toilet paper and then leaving the store as if I have everything I need to survive Armageddon except these damn 6 boxes of toilet paper rolls and this 6 cases of bottled water, and it was kind of comical in the beginning.
I'll give you a funny one. Okay, so my sister, she's got plenty of dried foods and stuff and water stored up. I mean, she doesn't have like I have stored, but she's got enough for herself for at least several weeks. And she didn't have toilet paper. So she calls me the other day and she's like, "Hey, can you find me any toilet paper?" I'm like, "I don't know about that." And she's like, "I just bought the last 6 rolls in the store. It was like $8 for 6 rolls of toilet paper." I'm like, "That's price gouging." And fortunately, when like weeks ago, I was like, "Well, let's see, I need more paper towels." So I bought the big 8 or 12 pack of paper towels, and I bought, a couple of 18 packs of the toilet paper. So I figured, worst case scenario, I'll take her over some toilet paper and just hand her 4 rolls and say, "Here, this will cover you until the shelves get stocked again." And that's another thing. If we don't see the shelves starting to get stocked again in the next 2 to 3 weeks, you can expect the panic we're seeing now to multiply. Like, it'll be a force multiplier. If we're not getting our shelves stocked in the next couple of weeks, people are really going to lose their shit.
I think it won't take that long, brother. I think that come Monday or Tuesday, if we're still seeing fear purchasing or whatever it's called now, whatever the catchphrase we're going with now is, it's gonna dramatically escalate people's belief that they have to act out. They have to show the government we need toilet paper, or I don't think they'll be so calm next time. I think they'll begin to start taking it out on some poor little 17-year-old kid that's working his part-time job after school because their poor planning left them in a situation where not only do they not have any food to eat in their home, they don't have any water to drink in their house, and they're sitting on 106 rolls of toilet paper, because all they heard was, "Oh shit, we need toilet paper" on the news. Bought all this toilet paper, never thought about any food, any water, anything. And once it did dawn on them that they needed it, it was gone. So now I'm sure they're going to be willing to express their anger to anyone in multiple locations. I wouldn't doubt big giant protest lines at Kroger's for not having enough toilet paper yet. Um, I think it'll get exponentially worse way faster than weeks and months.
You're probably right. Like I said, if they don't start restocking pretty soon, hey, I bleed American. Good to see you, hon. Here, you know what? Let me give you a wrench. I'd give one to Iron Crane, but I know how he is about those wrenches. He likes to be the gray man. Um, yeah, and another thing, you know, like even with the water situation, um, a lot of people, like I've been preparing long enough to where I know how I can purify my own water. You know, I have means of doing it, so I don't sweat. You know, a water shortage like that. I've got a canal. I mean, granted, out here in the desert, we don't have like major rivers, and I mean, we've got the Salt Lake, which is Salt Lake River, which is just north of us, but like 20 miles north of me. But we do have canals that bring it down our area, like less than a mile away, like not even half a mile, quarter mile away. I can literally walk from here, not even cross a main street, and go right to the canal, and you know just dump a bucket, a 5 gallon bucket, pull it up, pour it into a container, filter it, and take it home and boil it. You know, I've got plans even for keeping water in my house. You know, and we can also catch rain runoff, but it doesn't rain all that often in Arizona either. So,
Right.
but yeah, for food, you know, it's like once my food stock starts running low, I've considered maybe getting rabbits. I would do chickens right now, but the only problem with that is then if you get a rooster, they're going to be really noisy. Oh, we got Tac Tech in the chat here. Let me bring him in. What's up, Mayhem? Sorry, I don't know how long you were there, bro. But yeah, I may have to just go with like the rabbits. They're quieter, but
Well, from my understanding, and I may be incorrect in this, I don't think meat rabbits are going to be a very good single option. I believe they don't provide you with enough of what you'd be needing from meat. Check into that. I
yeah,
think I saw Bear Independent do a video about the futility of only having rabbits for your meat source.
okay.
Um, they are tasty though, that's for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know they're. Um, Fluid Pour says just get one rooster for every 10 hens. And you know what? Right now, Fluid Pour Patriot. Yeah, I live in a community, a trailer park community. So if I had even one rooster that got out there to break of dawn and started crowing, I would piss off like all my neighbors. So I can't do that right now. If shit hits the fan, forget it. Everything's off limits, you know, or everything's you know, it's like what are they gonna do? Come knock on my door and get a barrel? They'll be staring down a barrel. You got a problem with my chickens? At that point, they'll probably be like, "Hey, can we get one of those chickens? Or you got any eggs?" You know, I don't know. At that point, that's probably what it would turn to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a renewable meat source myself, that being livestock or anything like that, but I would definitely think that by this summer, if the meat cases at the grocery store don't start to fill back up, we'll be seeing a lot of people in the neighborhoods that do start to have chickens. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a few pigs around the city of Detroit,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
goats,
Yeah.
stuff like that, smaller animals. I would definitely
Dumbass.
plan on seeing a lot of survivors, I guess, start to incorporate that. I don't know if you know, but the city of Detroit has had so many houses torn down that we literally have fields that are a half a mile long by a quarter mile wide with nothing but grass growing on them at this point. I mean, we have plenty of agricultural space in the communities, and it is being used at that. I mean, every block has a community garden in a couple of the empty lots on the block. I mean, there's plenty of space. I think the reality of it is that initially there'll be more takers than doers,
Exactly.
and until that equation gets to the point where there's more doers than takers, we'll be seeing some rough times around these parts. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you don't have, do you have one of these fields that near your house, I'm guessing?
oh yeah, I mean, my house is surrounded by maybe 3 or 4 acres of open fields.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's plenty of open spaces. I just think that number one, there's not going to be a lot of farmers that step up into the city of Detroit and start trying to cultivate that land. And I think, like I said, there's just going to be so many takers in the beginning that to
Oh,
get anything up and going will be next to impossible without it being destroyed, damaged, you losing your life trying to defend it.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I
Oh,
do see a point where there is the potential for the land to be used to raise
yeah,
animals, grow crops, stuff
exactly.
like that. If the grocery stores do never fill back up the way they used
But
to.
what kind of a grow season do you have out there in Detroit though? It's
Well, we
not
got,
that
we got
long,
a
year
pretty
round.
pretty short growing season, but I mean, Michigan is notorious for apples, strawberries, blueberries. I mean, there's hundreds of crops that grow in Michigan naturally. Apple trees, there's fields of apple trees in Michigan as far as you can see
Hmm.
that, they don't die every year or anything like that. A lot of houses in the neighborhood have fruit trees in their backyards, crab apples, apple trees, pear trees. There's definitely the ability for agriculture in Michigan. I mean, we have probably the largest supply of fresh water in these great United States.
Yeah, probably one of the best ones.
I would, yeah. So I mean, growing is a very short season, but the amount you can grow in that season is astronomical. And then it just comes
Yeah.
down to something you were talking about a couple of live streams ago, canning. I mean,
Yep.
my grandma canned
Hey,
her
Rooster.
whole life. Her mother canned, taught her how to can. I mean, that was something that was common in my adolescence, to run down to the pantry and grab a jar of tomatoes or grab a jar of strawberries that were preserved or grab a jar of meat that they used to preserve in the jar.
Yeah.
So it's possible. I mean, it's been done for thousands and thousands of years, and I think that
It's not going
this,
to go away. In
this will
fact,
definitely
I think
be.
we're going to see a big surge in people starting to can and jar their own stuff.
Well, this is definitely going to be the first year that I actually plant a full garden in Detroit. I've done some small container gardens and I've done, little projects trying to get stuff to grow. But um, yesterday I picked out the 15 items that I'm going to try to be growing, and I'm going to dedicate. I'm thinking about 30 by 30 to have a garden, just to have some vegetables, just to have some fresh food that I
What are
don't
you
have
going
to.
to try and plant?
Well, I'm gonna plant lettuce, cabbage, collard greens, mustard greens, turnip greens, green beans. I'm gonna plant carrots, bell peppers.
Yeah.
I've got a pretty wide selection of stuff. Cucumbers, all that stuff grows really good in Michigan. Pumpkin, squash. I'm gonna have a nice little spread out there this year and see what I can get going.
I Bleed American says potatoes are the easiest, and you know what? I Bleed American. I could get down with that because I know how to distill. not
Well,
only not
I
only will I have
definitely
shine, I'll have vodka.
definitely every year I grow tobacco and I grow potatoes.
Wow, you can grow tobacco down there.
Oh yeah, I grow most of it indoors. Once spring gets here, I transplant some of them out. I grow them in a 5-gallon pail,
Right on.
so they're transportable, and
I
I get
mean,
them
it's fried
outside
chicken.
in the spring, and I try to get them all wrapped up by the end of July, middle of August. But potatoes as well, and the potatoes I grow in little plastic buckets or little plastic grow containers. They're
Yeah,
5-gallon square, and I line those up on the fence line and grow potatoes. It's probably one of the easiest and definitely my favorite vegetable. If
yeah.
I could only have one and had to eat it every day, all the time, it
Steak
would
and potatoes, man.
it
Give
would
me
be
a cow
potato.
and a field of potatoes. I'd be fine.
Yeah, I mean,
Our buddy,
I
our, our buddy Jericho Fox in the chat said, "It's funny, but I've warned a bunch of people 2 weeks ago that this is going to happen. I was laughed at. Now they are all coming to me for help." Well, you know what, Jericho? You're not alone. In fact, all of us preppers that have been doing this for any amount of time, a long time, we were shunned, and now people are like, man, they had a grasp on reality, So
well, I mean, I think most people have to have a pretty good idea of what could happen at this point. I mean, we have probably some of the greatest reporting of disasters and outcomes that has ever been known to man. I mean, you can see what happened 3,000 miles away in less than 3 seconds. So I don't think it's a lack of knowledge we have at this point. I think right now it's a lack of belief most people have that are going to keep us on edge because the man down the street may not be ready. The
yeah,
man across the street may not be ready.
nope.
And I guess the reality of it is I don't even know if I'm ready until it happens.
We really don't. I mean, this is only the beginning, um, or maybe this is the end of it. I don't know. We just don't know yet, and we're gonna find out how prepared we are. I mean, I know everybody like they're buying out the ammo, and it's like, I get that. Everybody needs to get their ammo, whereas you and we've got thousands and thousands of rounds. It's like, ammo is not number one on my go-to list. I mean, it's definitely a very valuable prep, but I done prep that was one of my first preps. I got about 5,000 rounds, and I was like, okay, I got 5,000 rounds. I think I can start limiting on this and start building on like medicine or food or water, and started getting purification systems going and learning how to distill and learning how to reload my own ammo, which I've had to put on a back burner because of this whole coronavirus, because the money and time I was going to put on, getting powders and actually getting them pressed. Now I'm having to buy gas masks and extra filters and all this other stuff. So
Yeah,
kind of
it
threw a wrench in there.
it changes your plan of action quickly.
Yes, it does.
Um, well, you know what, Ron? I'd like to thank you for having me on tonight. I I hope next week if we have the chance to do this live chat, we're past the craziness I've seen this
Oh,
past week.
I
Um,
I do too, man. But you know what? If not, that's just more topic for the next week, man. It's like, oh crap, shit's getting real, folks. Shit is getting real. But we don't have to tell you. Anybody that's been to a damn local store lately knows pretty much.
Yeah, it's plain to see if anybody wants to right now. I'd like to say hello to Margot. I'd like to say hello to Iron Crane, Lone Star, Ooh Man, um, everybody, Citizen Soldier, Rooster Cogburn, everybody that came by the chat tonight. Thank you very much for your time and Dangerous Freedom. Hopefully, I'll see you next week, same time, same channel.
I plan on being here, and like Roger was saying, I want to thank all of you in the chat. It was so nice of you to all show up. We appreciate all of you. And you know what? If you get a chance and you see something, make a quick video and put it out there. We'll get around to it. We'll see it. We need to be in communication with each other at this point, because I don't know what's going on in Detroit. I only know what's going on in my 10-mile radius. And so as long as we all give each other the sit rep of our own 10-mile radius, we can kind of get a picture of just how viral this thing really is. I think a lot of it has to do with the news. The news is pushing this. Oh, and I think they're doing it for political bias or a political agenda. But yeah, of course they are. That's the news. That's what they do. Ooh, man, of course, always. Thank you, brother. I'll be in touch with you soon. Lone Star Preps, thanks for being here. Miss Mary, good to see you, hon. I Bleed American. Fuzz T Fork, you old son of a bitch, good to see you. Rooster Cogburn, Jericho, Fluid Patriot, and Nita Veller Forge and Woodcraft. When are you guys start making some content? I went over to your channel, but you're very welcome to be here and good to hear from you. Old Reliable, Tigger, thank you. And Tigger was actually telling me about what it was with the rabbits. They have high protein but not any fat.
Okay.
And so, anyways, something to look into. Anyways, we'll let y'all go. Enjoy your Saturday evening and stay safe, stay armed, and remember, no one can protect you better than you can protect yourself. Take care, all.